Good afternoon. Literally, just good afternoon as well.
Just turned.
Well, for us anyway. So, hey everyone. Welcome to this slightly moved around live stream that did catch Peter and I both by surprise as we tried rearranging our own diaries to getting this done. Hey Peter. Good
Hey,
afternoon.
Paul. How's it going?
I am good. You know, it's quite nice and sunny. I'm on vacation next week, so you know.
Oh, yeah.
I am winding so in the UK here it's a short week because we had a bank holiday on Monday, and then I'm on vacation next week. So I've got this wonderful kind of like 4-day compressed week to get 5 days work done to also be prepared to like be away for a week, be on holiday for a week anyway. So all fine and dandy. Other than that, how about yourself?
Yeah, doing well. I got a new job.
You got a new job. Who's hired you?
Salesforce Ben. So,
Salesforce. So do you only work for companies that have Salesforce in the name?
For about the last decade and a half, it seems. So,
yeah.
Although my own company, I did not put the word Salesforce in the name, and I understand that they sort of eschew that these days. They try not to make people let people name themselves after Salesforce, but I think Salesforce Ben kind of got grandfathered in because of the brand and all that. So.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, so I started just over a week ago. I'm going to be leading technical content, and big shout out to the team, to Ben McCarthy, who founded Salesforce Ben, of course, and the whole team that they're supporting me and keeping up doing this live stream. So pretty excited.
Great that you can still continue this. And I have to say, I know that you and I had kind of had a couple of chats in the background about you taking the role and things like that. And as I've said to you before, I'm like very, very happy to say publicly on a recorded line, I think it's a very, very good hire for them. I mean, it's they're a good bunch. They produce a lot of content, and hell, they even have someone like me occasionally write stuff for them. So it's good that they've got someone coming in finally to add some standards. Stop any of my rubbish getting through.
Well, thank you for saying that. That's really kind. I I mean, they've got a really well-oiled machine. What's great is like there's a lot that I can just sort of come in and slot in my expertise and add to the team. There's a few little tweaks probably that we'll make, but my goal initially is just to kind of get to know what they're doing and not sort of come in and try and make a whole bunch of things happen before I really understand like how things work there. I mean, I myself have been a contributor over the last couple of years. I think I have had 11 articles published by them, which I hadn't realized it was that many. I've done several bits of work around the like summaries of conferences, and I've done at least one release notes and for developers, so I've really enjoyed working with them. And I think, it just adds to the team to have, they haven't had somebody with a sort of Salesforce developer, software developer background. And so I think that'll be, it'll be great to kind of bring all of our talents together and kind of, what's the rising tide lifts all ships, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I hope obviously we have lots and lots of the Ben team watching all these streams in the future to fill them with confidence about your coding skills.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
I take it they didn't watch any of our 2-hour kind of like, wait, what's this?
Possibly not. I'm hoping to get to do a bit more coding. The advisory work I was doing, the coding I was doing was more kind of crawling for data, scraping data, mining data. I was getting doing work with pandas and data frames and matplotlib and that kind of stuff to to try and do analysis for my clients. And I'll probably still do some of that for Salesforce Ben, at least I hope to. I think there's some interesting data that I want to dig into as far as like the historical articles and understand better how that's, what that looks like in some different dimensions. hopefully I can do, use that a little bit. But, my plan is to have kind of 1 day a week that's going to be focused on, doing something technical. And at least, initially there's some Salesforce features that I want to catch up on and spend some time doing, plus some of the recent announcements around, like have you heard about the A2A protocol, the agent to agent protocol that Google announced at Google Play?
So there was
Which
that because I was wondering how that how that played with or competed with MCP, which I know is a different thing, but also
Right.
not a million miles away.
Yeah, I don't know either yet. I mean, the press release said it complements MCP. Okay. I'm not I'm not
Great.
sure how yet, but, like, that's something I want to try and dig into and hopefully, uh, come up with some content around there and, especially, try and help folks that are in the Salesforce ecosystem kind of understand what those things are. And, if you are working on a true multi-agent system that, Salesforce is maybe one or a few of the agents are coming from Salesforce, I think those protocols, it looks like those are going to start to become kind of the de facto way to interconnect a bunch of agents. So it's great. We don't really have a lot of like working agents, and we're already trying to interconnect them. I was I
Yeah,
was
I mean,
I was joking with I think with Matt Morris. It's like, okay, is this the birth of Skynet moment? It's like
yeah, weirdly enough, I was chatting to Matt yesterday about a couple of other things, and yeah, we were talking about agents and just that thing of I was like, we were both having this conversation around data quality for like
Mhm.
agents and AI, and the kind of summarization of Matt. And so, for those who aren't aware, Matthew Morris is, or Matt Morris, he leads the one of the London groups, doesn't he? London
London
admin
admin.
user group.
Yeah, he helped
Um,
found that group actually. So
okay, so he's a long time runner of that. He's a former MVP. He's now CTO for Salesforce at Capgemini, I believe.
yeah, that's
So
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
very well established kind of face around the ecosystem. Also has the world's best skincare routine because, like, I,
He looks good. I saw him when I was out in Bristol a few weeks ago.
yeah,
He's lost weight. He's like doing this whole like healthy
uh,
eating, healthy living thing that is really agreeing with him, I've got to say.
yeah,
He looks good. So
yeah.
well on,
That looks good.
good for him.
Yeah. So, but we were chatting, and one of the things we were just saying about with with the kind of data quality thing is that um, if we're waiting for people to get good data, we're never going to implement anything. And it's very, very true. I mean, the number of customers, orgs, and environments, and databases I see that not even just Salesforce databases, databases in general, where the data's a bit crap, is astonishing. And so we've got to be aware of that. It was an interest. Yeah, we're both saying you're never going to get perfect data, but there's still got to be a lot of work done, I think, to make data better.
So
I had
are
someone.
we gonna coin a new term, MVD, minimal viable data? Is that like
Yeah, I thought for a brief second I was like, "Are you going down the term of MDG, DGA, and make data great again, or make data decent again?" MDDA. Um,
has data ever been great?
well, so this as an interesting illustrative example, there was a customer I was talking to recently about their service cloud setup that I'm helping them
Mhm.
with. And I was saying, well, we need to do this thing, and they're like, but we've always done it this other way. And I was like, why have you always done it this other way? And they was like, well, because that's what it was like when we moved over to Salesforce. I was like, right, and why did you do it that way in the other system? Well, it was because it was like, and what we kind of determined was
That's how
that
we did it in Siebel. Like
no, it's like literally. So this company is like, let's say this isn't the exact details, but let's just say it's a 15-year-old company. For the
Mhm.
first 5 years, they were in startup mode and did everything in Excel. Then the
Right.
next 5 years, they did everything in desk.com. Then the next 5 years, they moved over to Service Cloud. And they're still operating like they were when they were doing things in Excel because they're like, well, I need this report. Which reminds me of the chicken report story, which I saw this week. There was a
I
guy
didn't
who
know this.
it was somewhere on LinkedIn, but I saw it on LinkedIn Lunatics, I think it was on Reddit. Um, and a guy who said that he was being asked to create a report for some management team, and was sending it over every week, and it took him half an hour. He said, and one week he said after a while I just stopped getting anyone notice anything about it. I didn't get any replies. So he said one week I just sent a picture of a chicken and an Excel file with just a picture of a chicken in it. He said, I got 0 people email me back saying, why have you just sent a picture of a chicken? He said, so I did it. He said, and then after 2 weeks of doing that, I then emailed the group and said, I'm no longer going to be sending this report because for the past 2 weeks I've sent you a picture of a chicken and none of you have come back and told me that you don't that I've just done this. So none of you are reading it. And it was, I mean, the cojones to do that.
That's actually I admire that person already.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll all be checking for chickens and anything that you produce in the future.
I've totally been guilty of that, where it's like I get on some, I mean, it's in the Salesforce days, like I would get some initiative or some like program or something that I needed to or wanted to be like a stakeholder in, and then like I got so overwhelmed with like so many notifications that it's just it's like, okay, I'm on all these distributions now. It's like how much help am I being actually? So yeah, it happens.
So one of the other things before we dive into going back over our CLI this week that I wanted to talk about is some exciting stuff that we have coming up on the channel with the live streams. And I think this is quite a nice sort of connection to your new role and what you were saying as well, because I know one of the things that you're hoping to do at Salesforce, Ben, and I know that in kind of chats I've had with Ben about what we're looking for is to have kind of some more of that deeper technical content and more developer centric content. And I'm happy to get out on a limb here and say one of the things I don't think is covered as well as it could be is Heroku.
Mhm.
I think I've used Heroku a lot. I'm a big fan of it, but I think that it's not perhaps covered as well as it was initially for Salesforce developers.
Mhm.
And B, I know the Heroku organization itself has pivoted away a bit from its original target audience, which was individual developers.
Right.
And as such, I'll be honest, I've seen a few videos recently around programming where Heroku gets a bit of shade thrown at it.
Mhm.
And so, one of the, which I don't think is completely fair, but for those of us working with Salesforce, Heroku is a very, very powerful tool and platform. And so I am very pleased to be able to share that, subject to us finalizing dates, we have the one and only Andy Fawcett coming to join us for some live streams. So Andy Fawcett is, I am pretty sure that if you're watching the stream, I don't need to tell you who Andy Fawcett is, but he is probably, I mean, would you say he's probably the most, excuse me, influential Salesforce developer out there? Like in terms of contribution to things, I was thinking about this the other day between like DLRS and between lookup rollup summaries, between FFlib, between the Apex patterns, between that, the deployment tool, the 4CLI that you and I stumbled across at the Wayback Machine the other day.
Mhm.
Like Andy's contributed a lot. The
So
metadata
I
deployment tool.
don't think Andy did the 4 CLI tool, but like
Oh yeah.
absolutely, like apart from that,
Oh yeah.
it doesn't really matter. Like he
What
did
a lazy bum. Sorry,
yeah.
you're right. Yeah, he's useless.
I think that because that was actually built by some of the Heroku team, like
Ah,
2013 or something like that. Was the first iteration of that. When I found that article on their website, like the original published date was 2013. But that's not the point. Andy Fawcett has had a huge influence on the developer community, and has done everything from like super practical, super well adopted and highly used things, like FFlib and the lookup rollup summaries, and to some really, really cool things like Lego Mindstorms integration with Salesforce and Little Bits integration with Salesforce. If you're not familiar with Little Bits, it's sort of like a modular hardware system so that you can actually create, you know, hardware bits, and they all snap together. And then they actually have another module that can basically connect things to the internet. So he would do like, press a button and it would like go and like escalate something in Salesforce sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, he's up there from, when I first started in developer relations, there were a bunch of people that, kind of had this outsized impact on, and a lot of them were from the UK. So Andy Fawcett, Keir Bowden, Wes Nolte kind of all come to mind. But then there's also in the US, there was Joe Ferraro and the Maven's Mate world. I think, they've all, Joe and Wes, I think have both kind of moved on. Kira's obviously continued to, he's not necessarily contributed tools so much as he has content, thought leadership, just technical know-how. Um, yeah, I mean, he's one of the pantheon, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Joe's VP of the Life Sciences Cloud.
Yeah, that's right. I saw he joined about a year and a half ago, something like that.
Yeah, so Joe's another one that's moved over to the mothership to kind of give that a try and build some product. Yes, having been lucky enough to. So Andy was my first Salesforce
So
boss.
you've actually worked with everyone there.
Joe was my third or fourth Salesforce boss. Kier I nearly worked with, but didn't. But I've done a couple of things with. Wes I know about, but haven't worked with. But yeah, so yeah, I'm on a decent hit rate for basically people that are really really smart work with me and then decide they've had enough and want to go and do something.
I'd throw Francis Pindar in there, I think, too, as far as that developer influence. So at least in that era around 2013, all those folks were like they were the people I was following, and I was working for Salesforce. So
so in a couple of weeks, there'll be a podcast episode I recorded with Andy. So make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. If you're watching this live on YouTube, you can find the podcast link on the page on the channel, or you can just find Cloud Bytes Conversations in whatever podcast app you prefer to use. So we have that episode with Andy. We've got one with Kieran Fitzgerald coming out next week, and then one with Andy 2 weeks afterwards. And then following that, I think it should be a couple of Fridays after that, we'll have Andy come on to chat with us. We're going to have a little bit of a brief break, I think, over the next few weeks, partly because it's just conference season in the UK. So we have, obviously, I'm away next week, but the week after that, I think we have is when we start getting into things like London's Calling, the World Tour, and a few bits like that.
The week after that is still end of May.
I think the week after. Yeah, I think end of May we're okay.
So we have one more, I think, and then June's going to be carnage. So
so we might be moving around a little bit. So apologies for everyone in there. But if you remember to subscribe to the channel, you'll stay up to date with everything. But so very excited to have Andy on there. We're going to have 2 episodes with Andy back to back. The first, we're going to just show you how to build something from scratch in Heroku, which I did a presentation at London's Calling a number of years ago where I live coded a Heroku app from start to finish in a 35-minute window, and we managed to get it deployed to display a page or something. It was not the sexiest, coolest, best app ever, but it worked, and it really is quick for you to be able to do that. So we're going to build an API. We've got some, I think it's fair to say, interesting ideas of APIs we're going to build and work with. And then the second episode, we're going to look at how you can use some of the new features coming out from Heroku and Salesforce to bring that API into Salesforce to work with natively. So if you've seen any of the announcements around AppLink, which isn't GA yet, so safe harbor statements and all that stuff. I mean, neither of us work for Salesforce, so we don't care about safe harbor, but for those looking to make any purchases. But that is going to be the focus of the second episode. So in 2 episodes, you should be able to see a really interesting example of building something from scratch on Heroku, deploying it, how easy that is, all the way through to then using it within Salesforce. And I'm really excited to have Andy come and join us.
That should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, should be good. Be good to have someone who knows what they're doing like finally program. I mean, like, rather than just me and you bumbling through, there'll be someone who's actually a really competent programmer on there.
Nothing like expertise to humble oneself. So
Exactly, yeah. Well, it's like talking about getting to work with Andy, and it's a little bit of what we were saying on the podcast, but I consider myself very lucky that I did get to work with the likes of Andy and Joe Ferraro, but also a bunch of periphery additional people who were kind of around then that aren't as well known. So, like Stephen Wilcock, Carolina, Luz Medina, David Helmer. Who else was there? Just there's a bunch of people at like a number of different organizations. Carl Thornton that like I got to work with. Sam Rosen, who's now one of the identity team at Salesforce. There was lots of really, really smart people I've been very, very lucky to work with.
Did either of the big ass consulting guys work at
They were
Financial
both Matt and Neil worked at Financial
and
Force. They were actually I didn't overlap with them, but I do know both Neil and Matt. They're very clever as well. I didn't overlap with Chris Peterson, but he worked at Financial Force as well.
That's right.
So Chris,
who is actually now product manager for Heroku.
Yes, and I mean, and Andy was obviously product manager for Thingy before. So yeah, I think basically again, what we're proving here, there's lots and lots of people I've overlapped with and kind of touch base with who've all got on to do stuff, and yet none of them have fixed any of the bugs that I sent them across with. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm joking. I am joking to all of them. But yeah, so it's it's going to be a good couple of episodes. I'm really excited to have Andy on, so make sure to subscribe and keep up with the announcements. And hello to everyone who is joining us and dialing in. So question we've just had in that we're not to tell someone's boss that they're in the stream. About a free version of Heroku you can use to join along still. There isn't a free version of Heroku still. However, there is a really cheap tier, and I think it's like I've got a bunch of apps running that I think they're like $6 a month, $8 a month. So like, it's cup of coffee money is kind of what I call it. And that's just to cover the Dido costs. So I think the lowest tier you can get is an Eco Dino cost.
I'm looking at pricing right now.
I think
Eco is
$7, $5 a month. Yeah, so 1,000 hours, $5 a month, like dead easy. So again, the cost of a cup of coffee.
And interestingly, Ellie, like the shade that Paul was talking about that people throw at Heroku these days is because they retired the free tier. So there was quite a bit of sense of betrayal from sort of Heroku's original audience from that. Like there was some abuse that was happening. So like there's definitely a rationale for that, but it kind of flew in the face of, I think, what developers had come to expect from platforms to have like a free tier forever kind of thing. So there's
an interesting.
Actually, we should ask Andy if he can like supply, because sometimes I'll have like Heroku vouchers. So like if somebody comes on and they want to follow along, maybe he'll be able to get like a voucher or something like that. So at least for the live stream, somebody could pop on and use that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we'll make a note to ask him that. The what I was going to say is just as an interesting aside story. There's another person who I'm not going to mention because this is information that I don't want you to know who they are, but they work for another platform that also removed its free tier a while ago. And this person was in charge of their pricing. And effectively, they just made the free tier, like they removed the free tier and said, look, the free tier has to just be a cover basic costs tier now. And what that means, like he worked out, this is the cost it is for us to run this, and that's just the hardware and electricity. We're not charging you for, the guy going in and updating the hard drives in the background. We're not charging you for any of our time. We're just charging you literally the cover on follow-on costs for the basic hardware and whatnot. And it was like, let's just call it $10 a month. And I am going to sit here flippantly and say $10 a month is not a lot, and I personally,
It's not.
yeah, it's not. And like I know that some people might, depending upon where you are in the world and different income levels and things like that, I
Yeah.
get that there's access things.
And it starts to add up, right? So you have to sort of be like, you got your subscription to AWS and your subscription to Heroku, and maybe you've got a few streaming services. So that is reality, though.
Exactly. And so, but what this company found out by doing it is that they lost say they had 1,000 customers who were all on the free tier. They lost 100 of those customers. They had a 90% retention rate to just go on to their new eco tier or whatever they called it. But the investment that gave them meant that they could then go in and they just were like, look, and they were very clear in their messaging. What we're going to do with this money is once we've covered costs, that direct cost we're going to take and just go out and hire a bunch of, and they just hired a bunch of engineers and it wasn't like a profit making thing. They were just like, we're just doing this so that we can cover our own bases and not lose money. And it got a very positive response from kind of their customer base, and doing it, they saw a lot more new features come out.
Yeah, I think it came at a tough time for Heroku, and there was there were other factors going on as well. But it's reality, right? I mean, AWS doesn't give anything away. If you want to use
Lambda, you get a certain number of free Lambda.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
but I mean, I the minute I use any AWS service, it seems like I end up with at least some small bill every month, even if it's like a few cents. It's like, here's your 35 cents you owe us, Peter. It's like, was that worth the processing cost? But okay,
My bigger thing with AWS is that every time I go to use an AWS service, I just look at the array of options there and go, oh, I've got to remember what all of these things mean again. Just I've got I'm working a bit with messaging for in-app and web at the moment, which is Salesforce's new live chat feature, or new live chat. Everyone's got to move up a bit by next year, so there's loads of people asking to move it. And because I have a number of customers who use it on their own websites, I always just deploy a simple one PHP file kind of website on Heroku, because it's a public site. It's it's a domain that only I'm aware of. And I can go in and update it quickly, but it really proofs for me that it's working on it, because it working on an Experience Cloud site is fine because Salesforce deal with a lot of the security for you. But all the call scripts and CSP and all of that nonsense, it really helps kind of debug that stuff. And so it's like a couple of bucks. But doing that on Heroku is okay. I've got my single file, I push and deploy it, and I'm done within 10 minutes. Doing that on AWS is like, right, I've got to set up an API gateway, then I've got to create a Lambda function, then I've got to put this file on S3, then I've got to have it. So it's just like, no, I just want to stick up a quick thing. Thank you.
I mean, I don't know that anybody's ever equaled the ease of git push Heroku. I mean, seriously.
No, it is really super. So we're going to be covering that off though, but that is in a few weeks' time. What are we doing this week?
Well, we've got a command line that we're building, right?
Oh yeah, we're doing that, aren't we? Yeah, I forgot we were doing that. I thought we were just going to sit here and
not that it looked like it as we were building it the last two episodes, but we have gotten somewhere so far.
Was it? I think I think this might be episode number 4 on it. In fact,
it is. We talked a lot the first episode, I think. But that's okay. I think it set things up, and we're both kind of learning this process too as we go. So that's the fun of this, right?
It is, yeah. And I was talking to someone the other day about that, and how for those who haven't watched a lot of these episodes, I know it might feel like that Peter and I are just bumbling our way through. We are. I was explaining this to someone the other day, is that there was one of the nicest bits of feedback I ever got from someone who watched one of these episodes was that they liked the fact that they could see that we struggled, because that's what real life is. I spent yesterday working on some Marketing Cloud API integration, which needs Heroku because you can't run it locally. And so I spent most of my day yesterday adding some console.log, git push Heroku, reloading the page, finding out what that log was telling me. Great, git push Heroku, and just doing that. That's what real life is. It's not.
Yeah.
You don't just sit there and know it. So where are we on the CLI then, Peter?
So we've got 2 plugins built. So the just to review like what our goal is, like and that goes back to the first episode that we started on this. Paul and I are both fans of the build an app button that used to exist in Salesforce platform. That is probably the bane of a lot of administrators out there. I talked about this feature at somewhere, and I think it was Louise Lockey who was like, "Oh, that button!" Like, anyway,
Whoops.
so oops, yeah, oops, I made another app. So, but that button was really cool because it did go in. It would create a Salesforce app. It would create an object. It would create the tab for that object, and then it would also do the other trappings around there. So there would be like a page layout, a basic page layout, and a few things like that. And I think it even had some permissions that it would turn on. So like it kind of did all these things for you. It didn't do them perfectly though, and I think that's why a lot of people like struggled with it. You'd sort of go through it, and if you went through the object wizard, there were options that you selected as part of that they left out of the build an app button. And so that would cause some headaches too. Anyway, so that's our goal, is to reproduce that, but in a Salesforce CLI plugin. And so far, because new object just already exists, that's a freebie. We don't need to write that command. We've also added a permission set generator, which was not part of the build an app button because permission sets didn't exist when that came out, but we're trying to do it best practices. And then we have a tab generator. Now there's a few other bits that we'll need to do, such as actually modifying like we'll need to add an app and modify the app menu. That's going to be a bit tricky. But I think before we do that, we wanted to take what we have so far, the existing object feature or plugin feature, the permission set generator and the tab generator, and see if we can get that to work as one command.
Wonderful summary. So yeah, I think today what we want to try and do is get our generate app or create app command working with a couple of questions, and it says, what do you want to call the app? What's your primary object? That's pretty much it, isn't it? What do you want to call your app?
What's your object?
What's the plural for your object?
The plural, yeah, I think we would need to do that because that's kind of an explicit setting. And then I think that's enough information that we should be able to run with it and kind of do the things.
We'll need a description as well, because they're very picky about you having a good description in all of the commands. Very, very picky.
That is true, yeah. And actually, I think that's good anyway, because we all know Agentforce and the inference and all that stuff likes descriptions to understand your org. So,
well, that was one of the things that I think long term would be quite interesting. This is Kevin Porman, who's another one of those sort of gurus of Salesforce, has put together a MCP for the Salesforce CLI.
Oh, is that him? That's an open source project, right?
Yeah, it's an open source project, but yeah, it's good old CodeFrag that's done it. So, but it also works with all your plugins, and so I think there's a really interesting thing here where we could then try and plug that in and actually try and get an agent to create some of these things for us using our own AI if we want to down the future.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
That's something to look forward to.
Yes. First, however, we need to get anything working. So, do you want to talk through details? Yeah. Let's not run before we can walk, April. So do you want to talk through the tweak you made when you finished up the tab one here?
Yeah. So where we left off last time, I had started on the generate tab, but I didn't really finish it. We kind of ran out of time. Since then, you can see the flags are all in place. I actually added a third flag that wasn't part of what we did in the last episode, and that's the output dir flag. That was something that we had done for the permission set generator, and like we hadn't generated the flag, but it was like, yeah, we need to be explicit where the actual metadata for this tab is going to go. So that was just one little change, is that additional uh, CLI parameter that's on line 31 that you can see there, and it's virtually copy paste from what we had over in the permission set generator. From there, going down a bit further, yeah. So again, like there's this is kind of the pattern, it seems, in these, where you have sort of so what we had was to generate the actual XML, we've created some encapsulation of that, and so there's a tab generator TS that we're calling on line 41. You can actually see tab generator.ts there. It looks like Paul's going to open that up. And, again, that particular, that tab generator, we are using, was it Simple XML? No, what was the name of the XML parser?
I've just closed down this, which had it in there. We are using XML, built fast XML parser.
Fast XML parser. Yeah. So that tab generator, the structure of that is, just the JSON structure that, is advised by the tab generator Node.js module. And so you can see that we sort of pass in some information, pass in the description information. I hard code the motif. So that's going to be the tab image that goes on the tab. And then I also am sort of hard coding the custom object and the mobile ready settings. Presumably, those are things that we would want to parameterize in the future. There's also a whole bunch of other tab metadata we're not even thinking about at this point, that if this were a true generator module, we'd have a lot more work to do to really kind of give full treatment of the custom tab metadata in Salesforce. So this is the minimum we need, I think. I hope.
Yeah. Well, because I think
for our tab for this this plugin.
Because I think one of the interesting things as well is that when we were chatting off air about the different tab types, when you look at things like, you can have Lightning tabs, you can have Visualforce tabs, you can have homepage tabs, all of these others. We'd probably end up taking this and having multiple different objects that could be returned.
Yeah.
So we'd have to get into some sort of levels of abstraction. And I think, it's not to say it's not something we can't do in the future, but for now, I think you're right. Let's hard code a couple of things for us to get this working.
Yeah. It's the level of complexity and logic. I mean, essentially there's just a lot of logic. The other risk in there, I think this is an interesting discussion point. If you were building a tab generator or any metadata generator plugin, let's say, you need to really stay on top of what Salesforce is going to be doing with that metadata in the future, because the logic that works today for the however many different kinds of, let's say there's 10 different kinds of tabs that you could have. Like, they add number 11, and then all of a sudden, like, your plugin doesn't work for that 11th. I think it illustrates really well the problem of metadata support that Salesforce struggles with, that we all struggle with on account of that, as far as support via the API. If there's some new feature that appears or that materializes in the platform, and our existing logic doesn't cover it, basically until we figure out how to cover it, like, we don't have it. I imagine Scott, who builds an Illuminated Cloud, what's his name? Scott? I'm
We'll just
totally
go with
bad.
Scott. I can't remember his
Yeah,
surname.
so I mean, I imagine it's something like he deals with all the time, and I know he's worked hard to build relationships with Salesforce product on account of
Yeah,
that.
I think you need
So,
to. I saw a thing earlier, and I was just going to try and find it to give you a pop quiz.
ooh,
Um,
me? Oh no,
yep.
I'm nervous now.
Um, how many standard objects are there in Salesforce?
How many standard objects?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, an object is kind of everything. Do you mean like just in the regular API or like so not counting metadata API?
So yeah, I'm on about account.
Okay,
Like I'm on about all the standard products. So sales service, CPQ, field service, all of those things. How
God,
many objects do you
don't
think there are?
even. I'm gonna say 300.
You giving a guess?
The 300. That's my guess.
Oh,
300.
sorry, I didn't hear. I saw a post. I'm pretty sure it said 800 or so,
I
840.
believe it.
Oh,
There's
let me know what you said.
loads.
Well, oh, there you go. You're back. So yeah, 840 odd. I think it said.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just
that's
going
a
to
lot.
see if I can, because I'm just looking on the Salesforce reference here for the standard objects to see if I can find anywhere that it gives a count, but it doesn't. I'd have to find a way of counting the number of uh, bullet points on the page and it only getting the right bullet points. But yeah, apparently something like 800 something odd objects, which as I'm
Wow.
scrolling down this list seems about right.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
I mean, most of them start with the word represent, so you can probably get a good represents. Sorry, I know this is off topic. But, there's the word represents is put 1,208 times on the page where it has the full object reference list. Now, some of them are duplicates, but still.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of standard objects. To your point of keeping up to date with things is a pain.
There you go. There you go.
So yeah,
So moving on in the tab.ts file there.
mhm,
So that's kind of tells you what's happening with the generator. We get back the generator instance and then call return object representation to get the actual metadata JSON structure. And then we use that XML builder to parse that and then to actually build some XML. And that's actually that on line 46, we now have the XML that we're going to write to the file system. And you
mhm,
can see my comments there where initially, my first iteration, I just hard coded to the paths that I wanted. And
yeah.
that just allowed me to make sure I was putting it in the right place. And then I added that output dir option to uh, to output that
Sorry.
file to the file system.
So what I was just going to do quickly is
Yeah.
show. So if we do create tab and we give the tab a name of the name flag is /n -n. I'm going to call this tab Peter. As you can see, it is created. It says hello for us. We have all of them saying hello at the end still. At some point, we need to probably fix that. But
That's awesome.
We have our Peter tab here, and as you can see, we haven't given it a description, so it's gonna the agents would be happy with us. But it has produced everything we need there for us to get what we want. So cool. So let me just
Boom.
delete that. So let's have a look at.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's the hello thing.
Force
Yeah,
app. Yeah.
there.
So so I think the next thing we want to do then is look at generating a command for our app. Sounds right, doesn't it? Now,
Yep, that's good.
the question we have, or the first question I'm going to ask is, do we want to create, do we want to call this a Lightning app or not? Because, so there are many different types of app, obviously. So sfdev generate, many different types of app that we can have out there. There are Lightning apps, there are Aura apps, there are a standard. There's what's the word I'm looking for? There's connected apps. There are now external client apps.
Well, there's
So
also
there's
like
lots of
classic apps, which is what
yes,
the
one generator.
build a Salesforce app button used to create. That was
Yeah.
pre-Lightning.
So I suppose that's the question: is what do we want to call this? Do we want to say app, and then it
Oh,
just be that in the future, if we wish to, we could take in a different flag that said whether it was a connected app, a client, a external client app, etc., etc., etc. Or do we
yeah.
want to call this Lightning app?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because you're right. Like we could have a command that to me it almost feels like we should just call the command app, but then a flag would launch the wizard versus I'm going to create a connected app or something like that. But that's just like off the top of my head. I didn't really think that through.
Yeah, give me one sec. If I share this screen, so what I'm just showing up on the screen here. Sorry, I'm just moving my Wi-Fi router around. Um, is I'm just going to go into App Manager here just to kind of show people what I'm on about though. So because we have here the option of a Lightning app or a connected app, but there are also Aura apps, which if you go SF org generate app, I think it creates a Lightning app that comes in. It's like an Aura app bundle, if you see what I mean.
Right.
So should we just go for the generic app option or not?
I feel like we're locking ourselves in. So I'm like thinking, thinking hard about this. Uh yeah, what? God, I'm a bit stymied here. I wonder though, like I almost feel like it's like an app wizard, but it's not generating now or creating. Like
Yeah, I
could
mean
we
it's
do a new topic? So MDX wizard app.
yeah. Sorry, one second. I'm just if people wondering what I'm doing, I'm just moving around wired plug connections to try and stabilize my internet at the moment. Um, there we go. So sorry, what was your suggestion, Peter? It was
Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking. Like, okay, so let's say in our, thinking on our feet a little bit here, in
yes.
our command line, right? Create, let's say create is the topic for like creating a one-off piece of metadata.
Mhm.
Maybe we could have a separate topic called wizard that is for
Okay.
doing complex tasks. So in that case, it would be MDX wizard app is kind of
Okay. So yeah. So MDX wizard. Yeah, that works. I'm just going to go and have a look at our command structure document here just to see what it recommends. So topic, action, resource. So topic is MDX. Action. So actions actions to be consistent as possible. They've got to generate. They've got to deploy. Actions of verbs is what what it suggests here. So that's
uh,
my only kind of.
yeah, it does
So for those wondering what we're looking at, sorry, bring it up on here for you. So this is the Salesforce CLI guidelines, and so we're just trying to follow these. Now we don't have to. We are grown-ups and we can do what we like, but we do like to try and follow best practices.
rules are
Excuse me.
made to be broken, they say.
They are. They are. I'm just wondering if this is where we would break it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if we were doing this like 100%
Um,
sort of by the book,
so
we would
yeah,
probably use
do
create
we
app.
think it's going to be better doing a? So yeah, do we think we want to go? Because the options are we either have MDX Wizard app or
Well, I'm
MDX
almost thinking
create
like
app.
it's MDX create app and then uh wizard is a flag and then like that
Oh,
kicks off the
so
wizard.
okay, I see what you mean. So we can do. Oh, okay, that is an interesting suggestion. So having a option in there that allows you to generate or list out the flag, have a wizard flag that then asks the questions. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what that's if we're going by the book and we really want to stick to that, to me
Yeah.
that would be the proper way to do it. If we wanted to like you know be a bit of rule breakers, then I think we do wizard app, and like wizard becomes like uh yeah, it could be other complex tasks as well, let's say. But, certainly the way that the rest of the command line commands work, they don't really, they just sort of work the way they work. If it's a complex command, it just kicks off into a wizard and there's no special command. So like either way, we're a little bit kind of going off
Yeah.
the like best practice, but yeah, those are my two best
Okay.
ideas. Anyway,
Okay.
if anyone's listening and has a better idea, we're
Yeah,
all
please
ears.
shout. Yeah. So if anyone has any particular feedback or thoughts, let us know. Otherwise, I think I'm tempted to go to the create app.
Mhm,
Have, as you say, the app as a simple thing we can create, because the app metadata is actually pretty simple.
mhm.
And then then have a separate one, because I think here I've got an example app that I downloaded. No, I haven't. Have I got? Is there an app in here? No, that's the wrong one. Custom apps. Oh, images. That was the app we created, wasn't it?
Oh,
So
yeah,
that
that's right.
is. Just get rid of that. So this is the app we created in there. So why don't we do? Why don't we do this? Because interestingly, in this app, there is no reference to any of the things that are within that app. So let me just show people what that app looks like. So that app is the images app, which we created here.
Mhm.
Um, and you can see we've got an app name, a developer name, no description because we're obviously very bad at that. Got the options, just get rid of that. Utility items, we're not bothered with. Navigation items, we've just got the home page. And then we have our user profiles, which annoys me that this is still on profiles and not permission sets for anyone at Salesforce watching.
Cheryl?
Yeah.
Poor Cheryl got called out at TDX a lot.
Did she? Oh, poor Cheryl. Like one of the things I find, I really want to move everything to permission sets, but there's still no. One of my big pain areas with them is experiences. So on
Mm,
an experience cloud, when you have registration, you have to provide a profile that they are registering to, but you can define membership of that experience via permission set. And so what I really want to do is on my self registration be able to say this profile and
okay, I don't know if I'm frozen or if Paul is frozen. Hmm. Is that me or him?
I'm back, so I can see you
Is
and
that
hear
you?
you.
Did you blip?
You blipped first and then I blipped, so don't know. Is the honest answer.
Yeah,
Let's
it's hard to
just
say.
make sure.
Paul was frozen. Okay.
Paul was frozen. Okay, always good. Right. I've tried to make sure things are connected. Let me just check. Give me 1 second. We were talking about
So
permission sets. Anyway,
go back to that XML again.
I'll let you just look through that XML and talk about it a second while if you give me 1 second just to check I've got the right wire plugged in.
Well, so here's what I wonder. There is the tabs uh, element in this XML, and I wonder if we have a second tab in there, if in fact that ends up just becoming a list, like comma delimited, or if there's potentially multiple tabs So I think that might be something we have to test when Paul's back, is what happens when we add a second tab to our app.
Okay, let's do that. Let's go to navigation items and let's add in
Accounts
contacts.
is good. Oh, contacts. There we go.
Cool. All right, so I've saved that. And then if we refresh this from org,
I feel like.
so yes, just on the
Okay.
tab test.
So that's just like for each tab, there's a
Mhm.
tabs element that appears.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. I mean, that's pretty simple to duplicate. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
so
should
obviously
work.
UI type, that's
So I'm just
straightforward. That's
checking
going
to
to be
see if it's
Lightning.
got. So I'm just on my network settings now to try and see.
Form factor
Should have
small, form factors
both.
large. That's interesting. I wonder what the two different form factors options. Oh, that's like when you actually create the Lightning app, there's those settings, isn't it? So that's interesting. We'll have to sort of understand that. Is nav auto temp tabs disabled? Is nav personalization disabled? Is nav tab persistence disabled? Is omni pinned view enabled? My goodness. Okay. I don't really know what any of those 4 booleans really do.
Well, these ones.
Is nav
So
auto temp tabs disabled? Well, the tab persistence disabled. That
let's have a look. So one of the things a lot of people don't know, and I know that I'm pretty sure you know this, Pete, but all of the metadata is fully listed out by Salesforce. So is nav auto temp tabs disabled? Indicates whether the navigation automatically creates temporary tab settings. Applies only to Lightning apps with standard navigation. I don't think any. I'm not sure how many of the whys are on that actually.
Navigation personalization. Okay, so nav personalization enabled means the end user can rearrange their tabs.
That makes
And then
sense.
persistence
Is for console apps. So if you move between console sessions, that makes sense.
So now we're not going to have a console app.
No.
Our nav type is going to be standard, right?
Yeah. Indicates whether the navigation automatically creates temporary tabs settings. Okay. Let's just ignore this one
Service
a little
Cloud
bit.
Console.
Yeah.
Oh, that's classic console app. Okay. Oh, I see. So if it's like an old classic app, then that would be set up. And if it's a Lightning app, then nav type is used.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So what we're then wanting, we go back here. So are we doing MDX create app, and then we'll decide about the flags in a minute.
Yeah. I think maybe like initially, let's just bag on the wizard flag, and that could be something sort of implemented later. I don't want to have to write a flag just to execute the thing we want to test.
Unexpected. Okay, what have I done? sfdev.
Oh, it's
sfdev generate command mdx create.
Oh, yeah, that is weird. So you need dash name.
Yeah.
So that's command.
We just do help.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right, generate a new sf command. sfdev generate command -n value. Yeah, you're
And
right.
then,
It is -n. Oh yeah, and then we separate the set B mdx.
Yeah.
Create.
Boom.
Hardcore development mode done. Super. Right. So then we want to add in some flags, which would be sfdev generate flag. And again, let's just see what the hell gives us here.
So we're gonna want a output dir, but that's for the app, for the app metadata.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, so if we go into this and do generate flag, it's going to ask us which we want. So we're going to do app. And then, so the first thing we're going to want is a name for the app, yeah?
Yep.
Which is a string. Name. Ah, the name flag already exists.
Yeah,
Just check what we've got. Let's have a look at what's been generated for us. Because I feel like it's just been a couple of weeks, so we're just checking. So the flags by default on it are name and summary. The default flag is summary. No, the default flag is name, and it gets the summary and description. Sorry. So yeah, so name is already on there, so we're okay with that one. So we've got the name. Did you say you wanted an output directory? Yeah.
Yeah, we should output directory. Yeah. Output dir.
And that is a directory, isn't it?
Yep.
And we called it output
-dir.
And what was it? So the summary of this is the that'll work.
Yep, that'll do.
And was it -o?
What do we do? D, yeah, is what we used in the other
D,
commands.
yeah.
Yep. Do you just do D? Yeah, just a D.
Is this flag required? Nope. Can this flag be specified multiple times? Nope. Does this flag require the file or directory to exist? Yes or no?
We did. Let me see.
I think we probably did yes.
No, because we're also generating the directory.
Yes, you're right.
We do a call to mkdir.
Yes, we do. Okay, cool. So we got that. Yeah, because we were saying that for some of the metadata types, they're not already there.
Right.
That's fine. So we got app. So we got the name. We get the output directory. Anything else we need?
Well, we want an object name, right?
Yes, well, so this is our interesting
Object
question.
label, maybe, actually.
Well, or do we? So the interesting thing here is, do we want that for this generate command, or do we want that for our broader wizard option? Because if this is just the app metadata itself.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So yeah, let's leave that as this for now. Then maybe create the app metadata setup, and then from there we can flag everything out. So that's all good. Does not exist in the messages. No idea what that is whinging about. We can worry about that later. Flags output summary.
Do you want to go ahead and I can maybe go ahead and connect up to a session if you set me up.
It should be in the private chat. I put it in there.
Oh, nice. I will go look for that.
Yep, there is an answer in there, so I don't know why it's whinging. mdx.create.app. We'll worry about that later. So, a couple of things we want to do then is, Peter has joined. So, should we create the app generator in here? We'll spell generator properly because that's going to help. We could probably end up doing a metadata generator where we have a quick console command.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take the permission set one because it's smaller. There'll be less to delete in a minute. And and I'm just going to do a bit of copy pasta quickly. So it's app generator, and so we're going to bring in the name. Let's just get our. Sorry, if I just jump back to this one. So so it is called label, which is what our name is anyway, and that's it. So label. Just reverse that out. So label. We don't have a description of the. We do have a description of the app in there, but we haven't populated it, have we? Just go in and populate that because we are going to be good.
There's like a bunch of other things that we're going to be adding in too, right? So we need quite a bit of XML or JSON.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big one, this one. That one. Let's refresh this. Because what I'll do is I'll copy this across and we can use it as our baseline. Like we did.
That's a good idea. I just put a bunch of new JSON lines in, basically.
Oh, you're a star. Look at that. Cool. So, see what I'm going to do. Let's not do that.
It's one of my favorite keyboard shortcuts is to duplicate a line. It's awesome.
There we go. There we go. So we have the label, we have the description. We don't have that, so we can remove that. And apologies for everyone. This is a bit squashed up, but it's so that you can all see it on screen. So the items we have. So we have description. We have label. I'm going to default some of these, but let's go first of all. So brand. And then brand itself is going to have header color, isn't it? So that is then going to have. Is that correct? It's not going to be dash text. It's going to be that. It's going to be header.
I will start working my way back up from the bottom, maybe. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, right. I think so. Let's find out.
We'll see. Anything's possible.
Yeah. And then should override org theme. And that is going to be. Do we have another Boolean in there? Or is it all just text? Just be text. That'll be false. So this is going to be header color. We'll do the default.
Are you just like hard coding in there?
Yeah, just for now.
Okay.
We can tidy up in a minute and abstract some of this away, because then we can start to look to add flags to these things if we want.
Right.
Oops, false. Description.
Right. Okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so form factors. There are multiple entries here with the same.
Yes. Yeah. That was one of the things that I think that's because you have to say whether it'll work in mobile or not.
Yeah.
Right. And
yes, no. God, sorry.
My guess was that small is you said that it works in mobile and large is it's desktop. But
yeah,
that was sort of my guess.
I'm wondering if it's going to flip out though, with us having the same thing twice.
Oh, the JSON?
Yeah, I don't think it likes it.
Oh, that'll be
an object literal cannot have multiple properties with the same name. Well, this is an interesting conundrum.
The plot thickens. Right.
So I'm wondering.
Well, instead of making an object literal, should we?
Oh, you mean if you just put it like that? You're thinking if I do that?
Maybe.
Yeah, no, it's too smart for us here. what I'm wondering is, are all of these parameters needed? So remember the other day we did that sneaky thing where what we did was we took this. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to create yet another new tab because I'm an absolute fiend. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete everything except the following. If I do that, and I'm going to change this label, here's a, I'm going to call that images 2, and I'm going to save this. So new file. Cool. And if I save that, is he going to let me deploy this as is? Yeah, it's failed.
I'm just doing some peeking and seeing if there's any guidance on the fastXML parser.
Okay, form factors is required, which is
What's that?
annoying. Form factors is required, which is the annoying thing. So if I just did one form factor, though, would that work? Assumedly so. Because we could just say it's going to be for desktop and app, yeah. So fast XML parser, repeated element. We got a comment which is space U from nuclear ducts. Is that something we missed, or is it? It might just be a random comment. Yeah. So we could, if we have just a single form factor and it deploys. Okay, I can't see anything in the fast XML parser that.
Right, and I mean same thing with tabs, right? Like if we want multiple tabs to belong, then
yeah.
No. So my thinking was rather than like I don't know if fast XML parser supports this, rather than using a JavaScript object literal, actually just creating this as XML text. Like that was what I thought might be a
Okay.
workaround. But I don't know if it supports that using fast XML parser. That's what I was trying to look at and see if there was any documentation on using fast XML parser with duplicate properties or duplicate elements.
See, what I'm wondering is whether we end up having to. So, where we are with this, interestingly enough, is, and I'm just going to hide the screen a second while we talk through this. So, this was something I'm not going to say I had as a fear, but did have as a back of my mind kind of thought, is whether we need to go JSON to XML or not, or whether we could just work with XML. Now, the benefits of going straight to XML are it should be, we don't have that intermediary work, we remove a extra item in there. The downsides of working with XML in JavaScript is, it's nowhere near as easy.
Yeah.
So But I wonder if this is where we're going to have to just go or in fact, that's actually another quick. Let me just check
Oh,
on
here we
something from
go.
our.
So there's a GitHub issue. Let's see what it says. First off, excellent package selector requests a feature parsing tags with several attributes that share the same name. Don't think it's valid XML. So XML-P. Oh, for them, they're saying several attributes, not actual tags. So that's a slightly different.
Yeah. Slightly different problem, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering. So the options we have are either to see. I mean, we could raise a request on there, and let's see what it says, which is an option for us. So what? Let's do that. Fast XML parser.
Duplicate. What's the actual error that comes back with? Object literal cannot have multiple properties with the same name.
So I mean, it's actually a JSON problem rather than an XML problem, if we're honest. Like and this is why.
Well, it's not even JSON. It's JavaScript because we're not constructing a JSON object. We're constructing a JavaScript object, literal. You know, so and that's kind of why, again, like, you know, I would prefer to do it as a JavaScript object literal because then it's gonna it's gonna treat it like an object as opposed to like serial text. But if we had to generate this as actual JSON, that's kind of why I'm wondering if that might, like, if there was an option to do that. But I still haven't found an answer whether that's an option.
Yeah. No, I don't think there is. Not that I can see. So do we then? Because I'm just looking here.
Yeah, and so searching that error message, object literal. What is it? Object literal cannot have multiple properties with the same name. Object literal cannot have multiple. Yeah, searching for that error specifically in the fastXML parser repo turns up nothing. So they've not had any issues or pull requests to address that, it looks like.
Yeah, and I can understand why. Because again, I think the only option we have is this is going to return a JSON literal. We could turn it, we could stringify it, we could add in the items to it, and then we could parse that. We could unparse that. But I don't think that fast XML parser has the option to deal with a string rather than a. Sorry, I think my internet's just having a bit of a funny day today, which is really annoying. XML yeah, it's a JSON object to XML and XML to JSON object, not anything else. So
it only does. Yeah, okay.
So shall we, for this one, just do the following? So get us moving. I'm going to say, let's just keep on going, Pete. And let's just not deal with multiple items. So for form factors, we'll say it's going to work on the desktop for now.
Large, and then tabs, we'll do like home, standard home.
That's it. Yeah. So cool. So
yeah, I think that's the best. I agree. That's probably the best workaround.
Yeah, just for now, and then so false.
Okay.
So you could always
connect to you, or am I connected? Connection lost. Reconnecting to host.
Apologies.
It's all right.
I had this thing recently where, like, I upgraded my internet, and what I need to do is rebuild my entire Wi-Fi network. So I might do that tomorrow morning because I can do that.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it is. I mean, one of those things, right? All right, I'm down at is Omni pinned view enable. Where were you up to?
I got as far as tabs, moving up.
Okay, cool. So if you've got tabs, then the last one is nav type.
Did you do? Oh, you did label already?
No, I was going to leave label in there, and then I think it's just.
Oh, just as is. Yeah. Okay.
And that is going to be text. So I think that there is an option for us here to go away afterwards, and this is something Peter and I can think about over the next few weeks and decide if we just actually remove this JSON object stuff and go direct to um,
Yeah, I don't
doing
really
it.
see an alternative, but maybe a different XML parser, like, you know, because like one of the other libraries said like this one has all the bells and whistles, and it could be fast XML parser. They just didn't want to bother with like
Yeah,
duplicate element names, whatever.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, I suppose what I'm trying to think of, quite honestly, is if we're going to end up with. In fact, this is a useful. Let's just have a little bit of this conversation now on air, so that if anyone's got thoughts or feelings, they can share them with us. But the reason we went and used fast XML parser was because if we're working with JSON, it's easy to create JSON objects,
Yep.
JavaScript object literals, and to send them around and deal with. If we are going to end up creating, I think what you're suggesting is creating effectively JavaScript strings, JSON strings,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
yeah. In which case, are we just adding the headache of string manipulation in? And
Yeah,
would
I
we
mean
do
we
that with
are like that's totally
yeah?
what we're doing. Or
In which
like
case,
like you said, just manually creating the XML like that in and of itself, is only maybe marginally worse than having to do it in JSON.
yeah, because I mean, so for those, let's spend a minute just talking about XML in JavaScript. Because the way in which you work with XML in JavaScript is you create a document and then you convert it to XML, if I remember correctly. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure you do. Yeah, you add the document, you create all the elements, and then you serialize your document to XML string. Um, and for those that aren't yet super familiar with the history of ML languages, there was first HTML, which was hypertext markup language, which is what web pages use. And then XML came along as this broader, because there was DHTML as well. Do you remember that?
There was, yeah, dynamic HTML. Yep,
Yeah, and now there's HTMX, which I've not really played with, but I'd like the look of.
that's a new one on me.
Yeah, it's meant to be HTML, but with like all of the sort of templating that you quite like. So you just provide it some data, and it does kind of the rendering for you. It's meant to be very quick. But anyway, so going back onto kind of more of the point, XML is meant to be this kind of superset for extensible markup languages of all types, and they're all based around this idea of the document object model, or the DOM, which is what your HTML looks like in the background to a web browser. And it's really these series of nodes, isn't it? It's all the tags one underneath each other. And so, yeah, I wonder if we need to go away, Pete, and have a think about offline rewriting some of the.
No, I think I found the answer. Does that work? Are you there? You frozen again? He's frozen
Yeah.
again.
So
There
give
we
me
go.
1 second. I'm just going to try and I'm going
I
to
think I
turn off
found
my
the
Wi-Fi.
answer.
Go on. Oh,
So I was poking around in the fast XML parser. Instead of creating each each element as its own JavaScript property, it looks like there's an option. I'll paste the web page for you to look at, um, to construct the XML from an array. In which case, the array elements, like each element has a name value pair in string format that it will, I think it may parse out. So let me paste that documentation up and you can take a look at that and see if I'm not completely smoking something. Here, actually, here's
Yeah.
the actual deep link to the section of that doc.
Okay. That doesn't exist to me. All right. I wonder. So I've just got a weird rate limit on GitHub then. That's strange. Is it XML Builder, that one?
XML
Why am
Builder.
I, why am I getting rate limit errors on...
Although, what version of FastXML are we using? Do you know?
we will be using one of the later versions, one would imagine. Well,
I think
I mean,
this.
I'm sorry.
I think this may be an older version. Getting started. Output builders.
5.2.
Okay, so there's JS obj output builder, and that one. Oh, here we go. JS min R builder. Maybe the one.
I've just found the file you're looking at. Sorry.
Yeah, here's a more recent version because I think we're on version 6. That's the most
Yeah.
recent version. I'm assuming that's so. I don't know if that API doc that I sent you, but take a look at this one, and there's an array builder at the end that I think we might be able to use because soap.envelope and then soap body rpt. Yeah, because basically you create an array and then each element in the array is itself an object which contains the element name and then the text value. And so as a result of that, because each array element is itself going to become a node in the XML, you can have duplicates because each object basically has one property.
Those are outputs, though, not inputs.
Ooh.
These are output builders rather than input builders, I believe.
Well, I assumed that.
Yeah, they're output builder specific configuration, so I think they're specific on what outputs generated.
You can provide output builds or your own output builder. Right.
Yeah, parse it up, parse XML data. So yeah, it's parsing the XML data into the format you want. I still think you're. I still think you're possibly okay to build from the array.
Yeah, maybe. It just said for version 4, and so.
I would imagine that it's version 6 should include stuff. I mean, we're on version 5.2 and above, so I think should we try it?
Yeah, I sort of had an assumption that output. There are 2 sets of configuration. Oh, parser specific options.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
an output builder is to take XML and parse it out. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And a parser is to parse something into.
Okay. Yeah, I misunderstood that.
So yeah, I'm going to suggest that for the sake of time and
getting on with it,
we just go with what we've got here, and then we can deal with that next time. So don't need that file anymore. We've done images, the label, we've got the nav type, got tabs. Super. Right, don't need that. Get rid of that. And then you and I can look at adding that in or doing something else offline. All right, cool. So we are saved there. And so in our app TS here, what we want to do is, just to remind people of kind of, we've got the flags coming in, things like that. What we're doing here is pretty much the same as what we've got here, if we're being honest. I'm going to take this in our info. So we've got our flags.
Do you want to put that up on the screen?
Yeah, I probably do, don't I? Rather than me just talking away to myself. There we go. So we're going to add in some stuff, but I'm just, again, copying and pasting just to kind of get some of the bits out of the way. So at the top here, we're going to need things that it's inputting in. We're going to add in, we're going to change that to app generator from app generator. And we're going to go down here. So it is new app generator. Cool. We don't have so we've got flags name. We've got just the name in the output directory, haven't we?
Yeah, everything else I think we've basically said would be hard coded. So
yeah, except we probably want to add the description in now that we've got it in our file here. So we've got the label and the string. So the first thing we want to pass in is the name, which is going to be the label. So let's just do flags.name and then flags.description. And then it was, that wasn't it. I'm just going to save that, and then I'm going to go in here and let's create another flag. Let's just call it description. What did we have as for the tab? What have we got? Description marked as string. Description, we had C, wasn't it, we were using?
Yep.
So is it a string or is it a text area? I think there will be one like that. No, it's just string. Ooh, lots of options. Description. C. No. Oh, constant XML. Oh, that's fine. XML was declared, but its value never read yet. We know.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're in here in our app.ds. Cool. Flags.name should be fine. Oh. There you go. Cool. So we've got XML, and then quite simply we can come down here, and I'm just going to copy. This is the best thing about doing all of this repeated stuff, is that it is a little bit quick copy pasta. So we're going to need FS, which is FS not automatically imported, or do we have to bring that in? Oh no,
It's up there.
To the top of tab. We didn't have it at the top of.
There we go. Yeah.
There we go. Cool. So FS is there. Flags output dir, and then we have, what's this whinging right now? No overload matches this call. That's fine. Let's just see what we got. Okay, and so output directory. And didn't we, in the tab, haven't we got a default for this? Where are you setting the default? Ah, that's it. We haven't got the default here.
Oh yeah, there we go.
And is it, I can never remember, so I'm going to check. Is it app or apps? Applications.
Applications, yeah.
Cool. So if we do...
throw you off.
Yeah, just to really mess with me. Cool. So that's good. What are these complaining about? The message flags.description.summary does not exist in the message file.
Yeah, so that's just the help, basically.
Yeah, but it does, is my kind of argument. That's the TS file. There you go. It exists there. Who knows? All right, let's try running it, I suppose, is the more interesting thing. So I'm going to create let me just clear this, actually. Cool, now it's at the top. Create app. And we're going to give it a name of demo. And we're going to give it a description, which is C of this is my demo app. Let's just try that. Oh, hello. Look at that. Haha.
Wow.
It's close, but there's a couple of issues with it. So demo tab. So first of all, it's got the name permission set at the top. Second of all, it's created a tab metadata file. So
That's funny.
this is quite good because it shows the downside of copy pasta and also people using kind of AI and things like that. And the reason I
Is
said
that
people
the
using AI,
right? Is that the right
custom
XML?
application.
Yeah, I thought there was. It's really inconsistent. Like
Oh,
sometimes they throw the word custom on the front, sometimes they don't. And technically, like all the metadata for those existing apps that come with Salesforce platform are also custom application, right?
oh yeah. Oh yes. Cool. All right. So
Don't get us
let's
started, right?
yeah. Let's not go down that route. All right. Let's just see what we've generated this time. We have a demo app and it is a custom application, and that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. The utility bar is still coming through as images utility bar. So did we add that
Oh, that's
one?
my fault. I copy pasted that. I don't know what that would
We don't
need to
actually
be.
need that. I think
Would that have to be
I deployed one a minute ago without it, and it was okay.
okay? Yeah, we can get rid of it then.
Yeah, just give it a go without.
Is that just
Thank
whether the utility bar is active for that app? Is that what that is?
or what utility bar you are using for it.
Right. Okay.
Um, so yeah, here if we go utility items, desktop only, even though you've got no utility item on there, it will still say that there is one. Cool. So final time. This is my demo app. It generates that for us. We have a lovely app XML file. I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to create a new file, and it's going to be called demo.app meta.xml, demo with a capital D. And then let's just save this, see if it saves up. Boom.
Wow.
We have successfully created and deployed an app. So that's quite cool. So what I think we've now got then, Peter, is we have an app, we have a tab, and we have the ability to do an object. So do you want to, shall I hand over the screen share to you, which might also help my apparently atrocious bandwidth at the moment. And do you want to generate the command for doing our wizard and seeing if we can go and connect the three together?
Yeah, although like I don't know that we're gonna finish that today. Like having looked at but we can
Yes.
take a stab at it, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, well, let's see how far we get in the next
Okay.
10, 15 minutes and then go from there. Cool. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I'll let
I
you start
want
sharing.
that screen, it looks like.
There you go. Cool.
Okay. Okay. Am I having keyboard problems again? No? Why is it not giving me the ability to type? Oh, I have to turn on the terminal somehow. How did I do that last time? Okay, so if I do that and say terminal, create new terminal. Let's see, that's me. And I need you. Yeah, I'm not for God, how to show details, shared. Normally I would need to give permission somehow to use the terminal, but for whatever reason, so I think you better just take over and continue because I can't run the
Okay.
terminal command.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Remove and just share again. See, people, this is what happens when you're doing it live. Sometimes it all goes well. Sometimes there are some hiccups. 1 second. In fact, I'm just going to remove myself from. Sorry. So I just had someone ping me on a thing. I just want to hide that. Cool. Okay, yeah. Sorry, just making sure that nothing popped up that we don't meant to see. Right, so.
Oh, now I figured it out. That's fine. You've already done it.
Well, do like, feel free to take over. I don't want to.
Yeah,
I'll remove.
I'll
I'll add you and remove me. There you go. If you add yourself, if you share again, I can throw you back on.
There you go.
There we go. Cool.
Okay. I think I can dismiss that.
Yeah.
So SF.
Do you mind zooming in just a touch, Pete?
Yeah, you bet. I can just make it a little bit bigger.
There we go.
That's better. Yeah.
Yeah.
SF dev generate command. Is that right?
Yep.
Name. And we want to call it MDX. Ooh.
Oh, sorry. That was. I went to go look back through my history to see what the command to do it was and forgot that you were using my terminal. No, you need to go back further than that. You're doing bin dev.js still.
Oh, shoot. Right.
If you tap up, though, you'll probably be able to go back to when we generated the command last time.
Dev. Generate
flag. You keep going up.
I'll just type the rest. Name. MDX colon. What is it? Create?
Well, what do we do? I think we can have. What about we do something like we have a create is for creating individual items and generate is for generating a bundle of stuff.
That's fine with me. I mean? I could see people criticizing that, but at this point in time, I say let's just go with it.
Yeah, and we can come up with another name later.
Yeah. App. You want to call it app? Application?
Application, yeah.
Generate. Create.
Yeah, I mean, people.
That's fine. We're going with it.
Yeah, people. If you have suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. We'd love suggestions on a better naming convention.
I'm sure refactoring, so once you've done it, would be a lot of fun.
Yes. Oh yes. Well, I think in that case, what we do is we remove the command and just recreate it.
So that's happy there. Let's refresh that, and now MDX generate appears. Look at that. How exciting is that? Application. Okay, now we're not going to generate any actual XML in this instance, are we?
No, we're really just going to be. So what I think we need to do is figure out asking some questions back, because that's what we're going to need, isn't it? We're going to need to say, okay, great. So for those who haven't, is it just worth? Let me see if I can bring up the old thing that we demoed. You know, the very old classic create an app thing. I go to setup. Yeah. So the add app, we could have called it MDX add app. So what it asks, Peter, is it asks for, is the app so it asks for the app name, the label, and the plural label for the object, and whether the object starts with a vowel sound. And that's it.
Right.
I did find as well in the documentation, you want to use prompt, which is the one to get messages, to do messages. So you can import prompt.
Okay.
And then if you do answers is await this dot prompt confirm Boolean type confirm. So
it looks like so this is the dev generate one, and there's like a whole bunch of packages that they're actually pulling in here.
Yeah, so if you where's the private chat? If I ping that one to you in the private chat,
okay.
That's the
Oh, prompt the user. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think if we ask
Oh,
those,
that's the Inquirer library that we were seeing imported over there.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So where is the message import load messages? Is prompt just part of...
it's part of core.
Okay. So let's see. So there's run. Oh wait, this parse world. Oh wait, this. Oh, I see. This dot prompt. So maybe, yeah, like there's the... Just start with that, eh?
Yeah, you'll already have the flags in there, so I think you just need the answers part.
Oop, that would help if I was in. Okay. All right. Right.
Cool. So the types we have. Type is input. So it defaults to input. The possible values are input, number, confirm, list, raw list, expand, checkbox, password, and editor. So I think what we want is probably input for the type. We want to give it a name, which should we call this one? So should we call this app name?
Sure. Sounds good.
And then the message to
Yeah.
prompt the user.
Okay. So where is...
Well, I suppose...
Oh, I see. Name is coming from there. Yeah.
So the name flag is going to be passed in anyway.
Right.
So maybe actually this is what's the... So maybe this is, we first of all ask for a description. Because, so how would you describe your app? So they're going to have to add the name of the app anyway, aren't they? I mean, we could make name... Oh no, name's not required on this one. Required is false. Yeah, Pete, if you have a look at the flags, sorry to interrupt while you're at mid-flow, but line 23, name is not a required flag on this one. So we could just remove the flags altogether and have it just be prompt driven. Probably a bad practice. No.
That's a good question. Like, do you... What's the, like... So that's a... Yeah. We go to the terminal and do sf dev generate command minus help. I mean, they do have some things that... Name of the new command, which we don't really need. Like we could just, like you say,
Yeah.
just take that from the inputs. Yeah. Okay. I mean, we could certainly add something back in later if we want to.
Yeah.
How does flags react to not having any flags? I wonder. So there's... Right. Or just no flags at all?
Yeah. So yeah, the only thing you've got then is you won't have, so $name won't be anything. So we'll just have to...
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, and then lines 27 and 28 need to go as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, because I'm not actually doing a...
Yeah, not interpolating the string anymore.
That's interesting. It won't let you actually. It doesn't like you using the interpolation. The
Because we're
string
in
over the.
TypeScript and it doesn't like anything.
Oh, it's TypeScript. God, that's right. All right.
So this one again, there's no. Sorry, I'll just do that for you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, and should we? What should we say?
Oh yeah, name.
There you go. Cool.
And unsafe assignment of any. So that's a TypeScript thing.
Any value.
And prompt does not exist on type PDF generate application.
It's because this should be string.
Oh, okay.
Because it's an input type. Unsafe assignment of any value. Let's just try running with it and see what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Okay.
And then do we want to output? Maybe just do console.log.
So I got this.
Yeah, I mean, that string interpolation we got rid of.
Yeah.
Maybe we.
So so with this.log, that should still output if it runs, right?
Yeah. So what's interesting is the prompt thing. So I'm just looking because the where it's got answers here is a single question. So I wonder if we want to call this like name answer, and then
right. Oh, output, I see.
Yeah, and then output name answer dot.
So how do you reference the?
Oh,
so
actually,
name answer dot name.
Name answer dot app name.
Yeah, dot app. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think name answer dot app name.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's still going to complain, but like.
All right. And then how do I actually run this?
1 minute. 1 second. Property app name. Await this dot prompt returning. App name string.
Const answers dot confirm.
Why is that returning? So sorry, I'm just aware. I was just looking. We're at 5.2, so
okay.
we want to do a little summary and wrap up. So,
as usual, we're
sort
of ending a bit discombobulated.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I think although we haven't got to where we were expecting or where we were wanting to, perhaps, we've had a few interesting detours. So let's just talk a bit through what we've done today. So what we've done today is we have generated another new command for creating an app. And we have talked a little bit, we've dealt a little bit with some of the fun of the JSON object nature of how we're doing things at the moment, had a good discussion around that.
Yep.
So I think, and we've had a bit of a discussion around our naming conventions, but we've also looked at our application generation item. So I think we've made some good progress. I think the next time we want to try and get this generate working to capture those inputs. I think there's something funky going on with TypeScript at the moment that means it's not liking us doing a few things. So we'll go and check those. It's probably just something daft we've done. And then next time we can get this command finished and working and get us creating stuff so that we can then run deploy on it, which I think would be a good spot. But I'm pleased that we're kind of working through and getting some stuff created and generated that is valid metadata. I think that's the important part.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely exciting, and I'm glad you found that they've sort of bundled the library for prompt. It's just a matter of figuring out then how it works.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think that's, and again, I think what's interesting is that the code that Salesforce, the code that's provided in the example is really kind of simple. It is just like, here's a yes or no, and that's it. And it doesn't really, it just says go and see Inquirer if you want to learn how to do others, which is fine. That's okay. We can deal with that. So, but I think we can then go and see what we can come out with, because it does take in a set of questions and an array of questions and an object containing answers, so we can await some of those coming back and see what comes through. So we can have a little bit of a play in the background after this, ready for next time.
Sounds good.
So so next time is going to be in a couple of weeks on a Friday. So if you have been a regular watcher, thank you. But we're now moving to Fridays just to accommodate some shifts in meetings and requirements, things like that. Such is life.
I got a job now, so
yeah, you got a job now, and truth be told, Thursdays is always good for me to move it to Fridays, and I like it as a nice end to the week. Because one of the things that I think's for Peter and I is always, when we're doing this on a Thursday, you finish on a Thursday, and then I don't know about you, but I go away and do some work on a Friday, and then come Saturday, I'm like, what are we doing on that thing again? It's always a catch up. So yeah. So once again, thank you everyone for joining and for participating and chatting along with us wherever you've been. Please remember, if you watch this and have enjoyed it and you're watching along afterwards, if you've enjoyed it, give it a like. If we've made some glaring obvious mistakes and you think you can fix them, let us know in the comments below. We are very happy to have people fix our mistakes for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and let us know what you've enjoyed, or if there's certain features you'd like to see us add in. And once again, thank you, Pete, for joining me and helping me try and get some TypeScript written.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. It's been a blast. And looking forward to a couple of weeks where we can hopefully kind of wind this up, or, get to a good point where we've got the basics working.
Sounds good. Well, yeah, thank you very much, everyone. And we'll catch you all in a couple of weeks' time.
Cheers. Bye.